Hey guys, it's been 6 months now since we originally got the CZ Shadow 2 carry. And at this point, we have 2,000 rounds to it. This has been quite the journey. And now that we've had this for so long, there's definitely a few things I want to bring up. A couple things that I would like to change or should have did different. A couple things that are worth just mentioning overall. And a few things that I really question. But we'll get all to that in a little bit. So here we go, the 2,000 round review. Before we get into this video, I just want to thank you all. We finally hit 1,000 subscribers. This channel has been a learning process for me. It's definitely helped me learn a lot of different things in the sense of filming, recording, editing, but also really forced me to become better with firearms in general. Teaching me to not only be a gun owner, but how to critically evaluate a gun and compare one from another and really show me how to recognize value in what's out there. So I just wanted to take the time and say thank you guys. It means so much that you guys have been supporting the channel, and I'm going to continue to bring great content to you. So keep watching. Thank you. So for those of you who have not seen the previous reviews, we'll do a quick recap and kind of let you know everything about this gun. I want to start with how I have this set up, because I think that's going to play an important role in what I would change or do differently if I did this all over again. So starting with the Optic, I went with the Romeo X by SIG. This is the compact enclosed. I do have a full review on this Optic. I will say it fit very snug on here, but it's been very tight. There's no play whatsoever. I've never had to re-tighten this thing. It's held up incredibly well the whole entire time. I really have no gripes about this Optic. I think it personally fits this firearm very well. And it's really great that it gives you the option to co-witness. That to me is definitely a critical thing I look for when purchasing, especially a carry gun, because God forbid, for whatever reason, your Optic doesn't work, or it fails, or you forgot to change the batteries. You at least have backup right there on the firearm, and that is critical. After that, another thing I did change was I did go with lock grips. For me personally, when I first held this gun, I really loved the look of the original grips. I thought it felt great in the hand, but the more I shot this gun, especially on longer range days, I definitely noticed that how thin they were and how they weren't super aggressive, but I constantly would readjust my grip throughout the session. And that was something I just wanted to eliminate. I've heard a lot of good things about lock grips. And at that point, I thought it was worth investing and changing it. And I will say, the second 1,000 rounds have been 100% with these grips, and it definitely made the firearm better in my opinion. You can also notice that these are significantly wider than the other grips that come with the gun. So I understand that completely comes down to your hand preference and your size of hands. Some people might not like these grips. They might think they're too aggressive. But so far, everyone that I've taken to the range and let shoot this gun, they all complimented how this literally just sticks into your hands. So I think that change was definitely worth making. Although I have noticed personally, since making that adjustment, the mag release button has been a little bit more cumbersome to get to. Again, that could be just the shape of my hands, but definitely something worth mentioning. And last, I want to talk about the flashlight that I put on this gun, because this is my first time adding a flashlight to a firearm. If you guys seen my older videos, because I always had an EDC handheld light, I never saw the necessity to have one. But once I got this firearm, I thought it was time to change that. So my thought was I wanted to go with something that, was as close to flush as possible, that fit the gun. I didn't want to go too large because then I'd have to get a larger holster that would make it more cumbersome to carry. And I thought the TLR7 HLX was probably the best route to go. If you guys aren't familiar, this is, at least when I purchased this, was the highest powered, most compact light that I could get. The other lights I was considering was the Mod Light. They have a compact version, but I did not quite see the reviews I wanted to on that. That kind of drove me to getting this. I do also believe that one is slightly longer. And if I could go back, what I probably should have done is get a light that's a little bit smaller that recesses behind the barrel. And the reason I say that is because one thing I've noticed over the 2,000 rounds is initially when I tighten this thing down, I didn't have many problems. I would notice, every so and then I would have to retighten it, but it wasn't too bad because honestly, the placement of this is so close to the end of the barrel that it gets so incredibly dirty. To the point where even if I did just a couple hundred rounds, I'd have to then take this off and really clean it. Because the light, I should have gotten a picture beforehand, but the actual light itself was covered. It was completely unusable at that point if I did not clean it. And I understand that people are gonna say the route I should have gone is using Loctite, and I thought about that. But again, the fact that I had to take it off to clean it properly and thoroughly, I didn't want to have to do that every single time. And what I noticed was the more rounds I put through this, the worse that tightening issue would get. To the point now, if I have this light on, I can go through one mag and this will have loosened itself so much that I have to take, the end of a round and just tighten it back down again. So I have my own theory on why that might be. I'm guessing it's because the rail is made out of aluminum. I'm wondering if, like my other guns that are polymer, if it would allow a little bit more bite to it so it would stick. But let me know, guys, have you experienced this before with this specific light? And if so, what was the remedy you used to fix it? Because honestly, it's something that really bothers me. And at this point, as a gun owner, I have 2 different holsters that specifically fit this with the light combo. So I really don't want to have to change the light or take it off because then I have to replace 2 holsters. So I think we all understand, that buy once, cry once is the goal. And this is definitely a mistake I made, and I'm hoping to find a remedy. And if I do, I will definitely let you guys know. But that right there, I just wanted to touch on the actual setup here, what I added to it, and what I thought of all those additions so far. Now, the next thing I really want to talk about is the trigger. So if you watch my 1,000 round review, I go way more in depth about the recoil impulse, the trigger, the overall function of the gun. And I'm not going to really go too deep in this video. So if you want to see that content, I highly suggest you go watch that video. But for me, what I've noticed, a gripe I have with this trigger is when I first got this gun, I loved this trigger. I was coming from my X Macro Striker Fire, going to a double single action where the single action on this was phenomenal. And I still love the single action. Granted, for me, like anyone, I would imagine it took a little bit of time getting used to how I pull that trigger. Did the first 1,000 rounds strictly shooting this gun, and I noticed I increasingly got better and better with the gun. Naturally, right? Now here's the problem for me, and I don't think this would be for everyone, but as someone who reviews different guns, I noticed after I started putting a lot of rounds and strictly firing my single action only 226, I struggled when I came back to this at the range. Honestly, the first time I took this back after my 1,500 round review, I shot like garbage. It was embarrassing how bad I was shooting that day. And I couldn't wrap my brain around it. And that's the only connection I made was I got so used to shooting a different trigger that I had to relearn this. And that, in fact, was the case when I went back again and finished the last couple hundred rounds that got me to 2,000. Because I only shot this beforehand, I was a much better shot with it. So that really, to me, is concerning because I'm someone who rotates different guns through my carry, and I'd hate to have to use a gun and not feel 100% proficient on it. So in my world, that's a concern. If this is the only gun you're going to carry and shoot, I don't think that will be a concern, but it's definitely something worth mentioning, and I definitely want to be honest with you guys. So you guys can tell me maybe I'm just terrible at shooting and this is something no one else experiences, but for me personally, it was something I did notice, and I want to own it, that, you know, I definitely had some issues going back to this gun initially, but thankfully after that, it's been good. So if I continue to shoot this gun, I don't see any problems, but my goal, especially to give you guys good, fresh content, is to explore more guns, give you honest reviews, and then I'll probably get less time on this. So next, I did do a full teardown of this, and I will say the overall cleanliness and wear inside is not terrible. This would have been the third time I cleaned it. I cleaned it at 1,000 rounds, 1,500 rounds, and then now at 2,000 rounds. And there was really no wear that I saw that seemed super concerning. In fact, some areas looked incredible. Looked like there was no wear whatsoever, which I was really surprised by. The only thing I did notice, and I don't know if it's going to come up well on camera or not, is right at the feed ramp to the barrel, there was a lot of carbon buildup. And I feel fairly confident that I've cleaned that every time. But I really cleaned it this past time. So I can't tell if that's just something that typically happens with a CZ Shadow 2. It's my first one. But it was noticeably different compared to when I'd done cleanings on other guns. So it made me really think, because over the 2,000 rounds, I did have some reliability issues. Granted, it was only about 12 to 15 rounds. And specifically, I can remember exactly what ammo it was. It was the Remington 147 grain, and it was the PCM bronze that gave me the issues. So I don't know if they weren't feeding well because that area was getting dirty, or the gun just didn't like the ammo. I don't think it makes the gun any less reliable. I understand guns have hiccups here and there. That's perfectly normal. But again, I'm here to give you guys my honest, raw feedback. And I think that's worth mentioning because I've definitely had other firearms that I've fired plenty of different types of ammo and had zero malfunctions. So it doesn't make me feel any less secure about having this in my carry rotation. But again, it's just something I think is worth mentioning to you guys. So let's really dive deep and talk about the elephant in the room. And that is, you know, I've had this gun for 6 months, done 2,000 rounds. Would I buy this again? Now I want you to understand where I'm coming from. Before this gun, my primary carry was a Sig Sauer X Macro. I was shooting that consistently for 2 years. When I jumped up to this, and obviously we can't name price on YouTube, but I will mention I did have to pay full price. If you know what that price is, you understand what I paid. Now, I don't know if it's easier to find now. Granted, I got this when it first came out. I was expecting to pay full price because it was hard to get. It might be easier to get now. There might be better deals to be found. But from a value perspective, I paid full price for this. So when I first started shooting this, I definitely saw the value. I mean, it's a great gun overall. Don't get me wrong. If price wasn't a factor, hands down, I have no complaints about this gun. But since getting it and shooting different guns in the similar price that I considered to be better in different ways, it makes me wonder if this is the best value for what it is. So I honestly don't know if I would buy this again. If I knew everything I know now, I don't know if this would necessarily be the route I would go. And it's not that I think there's anything wrong with the gun. I don't think it's a bad gun. But it's just, I find myself not recommending this gun when I talk to people and they're asking me suggestions. This just doesn't come up. Maybe it's because I found myself having to change the grip out, and I knew that would be an extra step people don't want to take. Maybe it's because I've had the issues with the light, which I totally own. That's not the gun itself. It's the setup I chose to go, but still it's a real world effect on me as a gun owner that now I have to deal with that. So for the money, I don't know if I would. And I know what you're wondering now. You're going to probably ask, well, what would I get instead? And unfortunately, I don't have that gun. But after owning this and owning a few other guns and doing a lot of research, I think what would be the most comparable to this would probably be a Sig Sauer 229 in single double action. They're roughly the same size. I think that has a slightly shorter barrel. They're both 15 round capacity. And from everything I hear, that has one of the best triggers for a double action, single action, which in my opinion is probably one of the best routes to go safety-wise for carrying. I can definitely see pros and cons to all those different types, and we're not going to get into that argument because I fully understand you believe what you like is the best, and it's all personal preference. But for a carry gun, I personally like double action, single action, so it's worth mentioning. So tell me, guys, what do you think of the CZ Shadow 2 carry? Have you guys bought one yet? Would you consider buying one? And if not, why not? I'm definitely curious to hear what the opinions out there, especially now that this gun's been out in circulation for a little while. I know it's more readily available, or at least assume it is. And let me know in the comments below. But as always, guys, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to be coming out with a new video every week, and I really, truly appreciate your support. Have a good one.